But if you've just switched your telly on, a very good afternoon to you. Let's quickly catch you up on all things sport. Now, Sport Employees Unite, the union representing non-playing staff in rugby and cricket, has added its voice to the calls for government to allow more spectators back into stadiums. The financial impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on all sport has been immense, and spectators play an essential role. For more on this, we are joined by the union's CEO, Piet Heymans, to chat a bit more about that. Piet, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. So I read the statement by the SEU, just for the benefit of our viewers. The call to government, is it a formal document that the SEU has drafted? Have you handed it to government? Who exactly have you handed it to? And what was the response, if any, has been received thus far?
Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, so this has been a concern for some time now, and in communication with some of the executives of various sporting bodies and unions, sporting unions for that matter, we decided that we will go public and just support all the calls that have come over the past few days for the stadium capacity to be increased. So we have not officially submitted anything to government yet. We're hoping to see what's going to happen over the next few days, as there are engagements from SA Rugby side and also from cricket side with government. So we're going to allow that to actually take its course. If nothing happens, we will certainly then formalize this call and send a formal request to the sports minister to the effect that we believe that the time is now critical, that we need to change the approach to the capacity of spectators at the sports stadiums.
Why is the time critical? There are some of our viewers sitting at home, and I've seen this on social media as well, where people say, it's just sport. I don't think that they fully understand what happens within administration when it comes to sport. So why is the time critical? Why the call for spectators to return?
Yeah. So the past nearly 2 years have been an absolute period of financial stress when it comes to most professional sporting teams, because our spectators are critical in providing that match day experience. And at the same time, they pay their fee at the gate, and that makes a huge difference when it comes to the financial well-being of any sporting body or team for that matter. Without the spectators, it is just not viable to actually open up your stadium, to have 2,000 people in the stadium, and you can't sell any liquor or any hospitality. It becomes actually a massive loss on that day, because just for interest, to open up a stadium, the least you're looking at is about 500,000 Rand just to make sure the security and the water and lights are put on. So you can imagine, if you don't have that cash flow from people coming to the stadium and paying their admission fee, it becomes just a massive financial burden. So without the spectators and with this limit we currently have, we need to act quickly because the window might close again. We don't know what this virus will do. So it is going to be critical that government move fast on this. There's been a lot of work, like I say, from both cricket and rugby in terms of making submissions to government saying we are ready. We've proven to government that they can host and that they can ensure the spectators are safe. So from that perspective, we need the spectators back like yesterday in large numbers.
Piet, can you please just briefly expand on the minimum amount of 5,000 Rand that you require to have a stadium open? And I'll tell you why I'm asking. There's currently an ODI that took place at Newland Stadium in Cape Town, and Alan Hirsch attended, and he actually posted a photograph on Facebook, and someone commented there and said, are only the rich allowed to attend? And that's not really what it is. There's a stadium in Centurion as well. When they had the opportunity to have 2,000 fans, they decided they're not going to open for general admission tickets. They're only going to open up the suites to some of their stakeholders, which is not about the rich. It's just, as you've said, not viable to only have 2,000 fans. And I don't think that people understand, when you only have 2,000 people there, what happens to all of the vendors? What happens to security who needs to be paid, the cleaning staff, etc.? So can you please just expand for us on the minimum 5,000 Rand amount that you require and what it means to then have 2,000 fans in the stadium? I mean, do you decide which vendor is going to open and who's not going to open. It just, you know.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part, and I think that's sometimes what I think government forgets. You know, there's a actual day-to-day running cost that you need to pay, and there's also very strict security regulations that you must comply with the moment you host an event like a test match or a normal cricket match or provincial rugby match. So just to comply with that means that security must be in place. There need to be maintenance people on standby if anything pipe burst or anything. And at the same time, you know, then you must still make sure that, like you say, your vendors and so on are vetted. There's a whole process to ensure access to the stadium and so forth. So just to open up, like I say, for normal provincial match, your minimum expense is going to be 500,000 Rand just to make sure you have your security in place and all of that. The sad part about this is by not allowing more people in and by not allowing hospitality and allowing people to actually sell food and drink, is that those people are actually, their livelihoods are also directly touched by this. They can't make a living, and a lot of them actually only make a living by attending these events and selling their food and drink. So that in itself is an immense impact financially for these, let's call it entrepreneurs for that matter. They don't work for the stadium, or they are not actually full-time employees, but they are there and they provide an important service to the spectators. So in that sense, if we do not, and that's the big thing, if you cannot have more spectators, at the end of the day, the right call will be it's much better, or let's call it much more cost efficient, not to open up your stadium, because that cost is just too big. And then it's much easier to open up maybe a few suites for your sponsors and your VIPs, and that's it, because just from a cost perspective, that makes a lot more sense. You don't they need all those requirements in terms of safety and security that you need to put in place.
Piet, we have run out of time, so very quickly, please, before you go, would a model based on match popularity be viable and not a blanket 50%? I mean, if we look at cricket, for example, some of the T20s are popular, so you can expect to have more fans there. But if you're looking at, domestic 50 overs, no one is really going to watch it. On a normal day, for the past few years, before COVID-19 even, there are very few spectators there. So would that be an option to have the matches that are not as popular in terms of attendance, just have the stadium open because you're safeguarded that it won't be packed in any event, and then for a test rather, or an international T20, you can then go ahead and place that 50% capacity on it?
Yeah, I think that's a very important point you're raising there. And again, there, that's where the clever science will come into play. And they will actually also tell that's a very good point, that all indications are that if you're out in the open and in a stadium, the chance of transmission reduces. And in a certain sense, that is definitely something I think they will look at. And in the submissions, from what I understand, that's been made to government, that has been addressed. So we hope it will prevail, sanity will prevail, and we will have an answer quickly.
Piet, thank you so much for your time. We hope that everything goes well in terms of your call for fans to be increased from the normal 2,000. And if it doesn't, we do hope that you go ahead and hand a formal document through to government. That is the SCU CEO, Piet Heymans, chatting to us about the return of spectators to stadiums.